Ted Meyer in Los Angeles, California, and I'm with
Sierra Domb, originally a Miami, Florida native, and now I'm in Los Angeles, California.
visual snow syndrome, which you developed when you were about 21. So why don't you talk to us about the onset of that? And then we're going to talk a little bit about how you became an advocate and all the amazing things you've done because you have this illness.
Oh, Ted, thank you so much. I really appreciate the kind words. Yes, so the medical condition I have is called visual snow syndrome. It's also abbreviated VSS for short. And visual snow syndrome, or VSS, is a neurological condition that can affect vision, sensory processing, cognition, and quality of life. It affects an estimated 2 to 3% of the global population, and it affects individuals of all ages. Some people with VSS are born with it. They're born experiencing visual and non-visual symptoms. And others, like myself, I experienced the onset at a later point in life. And so both can occur. And every case of VSS can vary depending on the individual. The main symptom of visual snow syndrome, hence its name,
Mhm.
is visual snow. So visual snow is actually a symptom. And people can experience visual snow temporarily sometimes, right? For example, if you're in a dark room, right? I don't know if this has happened to you, Ted, but have you ever seen maybe a little bit of what looks like old analog TV static or little particles or dots like in a dark space? It happens under various conditions, but what makes visual snow unique for people with the syndrome I have is that their visual snow is constant. And visual snow looks a little bit like, well, being caught in a dense snowstorm or seeing snow throughout your whole vision. So it obstructs the field of vision. It's present in both eyes, whether they're open or closed. You're constantly seeing this snow all throughout your vision. It's often accompanied by other symptoms as well. So after images or palinopsia, which is where my hand's a little red because I also have a medical condition called erythromelalgia. It's a neurovascular disorder, causes my hands to be red. But
So
here,
are the
right?
two related?
That's a great question. So there's a lot of comorbidities with VSS because it is neurological and in the brain. Your brain's responsible for so many different functions throughout your body. I don't doubt there could be a correlation between my visual snow syndrome and my erythromelalgia. So there's other symptoms, for example, like palinopsia, where I'm putting my hand here. Someone with visual snow might continue to see my hand after it's already moved out of screen, and multiple of it as well. Floaters, which are, again, they can be benign or transient, and they're common with aging. But for people with visual snow syndrome, they are amplified, they are excessive, and there can be like thousands or hundreds of dots in their visual field, which can be obstructing. And in addition to the visual symptoms, there's also non-visual symptoms, tingling and numbness in the extremities, what people describe as electrical shock sensations to the head, migraine, tinnitus, or ringing in the ears constantly as well. And as a result of dealing with all of these visual and sensory disturbances, plus the medical community's historic marginalization, mistreatment, and misdiagnosis of VSS patients, aka lack of help and resources. Um, it leaves a lot of people struggling. Their mental health is compromised as a result, and this underscores the importance of, continued advocacy, research, and solutions and awareness. And that's what my organization, Visual Snow Initiative, or VSI, was started for.
You had a doctor say to you, we don't know what it is, you might die. Whatever it is, it's really rare. And then you start advocating and you find out there's millions of people in the world like this not being represented. So let's do just a quick recap of you. You started getting symptoms when you were like 21, right? You were
Correct.
driving at one point. You even lost your eyesight while you were driving. So
Yeah.
so you're at this point in your life, like critical things are breaking down. Doctors are telling you after that you went to the doctor and they're like, we don't know. So how do you go from that point of like, oh, everything's falling apart to doing a TED Talk and talking to the World Health Organization and helping these millions of people around the world? It's an amazing journey.
It was a painful journey. My VSS came about over the course of a day, and I noticed symptoms earlier in the day, but they were very mild. And then over the course of the day, they got worse to the point, like you mentioned, where I blacked out while I was driving and it was extremely scary. And when my vision returned, that was when I had the full onset of visual snow syndrome with the visual and non-visual symptoms. My life was completely derailed at that point. I had to give up going to school, working, and having a social life to dedicate myself full time to a medical odyssey of figuring out what was wrong with me. And as you mentioned, the medical community just didn't know. There wasn't any education or solutions about VSS. Patients like myself were suffering as a result. I'm a resilient person today. I would like to think I am, but I don't know if it's by my own design, right? Sometimes, with the medical condition or not, life forces us to be resilient or realize how resilient we can be, and you have no other choice but to continue, right? I just knew I wanted to help.
I mean, but how did you do? Because this is where I think a lot of people, they're at the same point you are. They're like, I know I've got something. I know there's other people out there.
Hmm.
You can always find a Facebook group for almost every illness nowadays. But I mean, you really went fast forward. You went all in and have done some amazing things that other people are not doing. They're sitting on their couch. And I understand a lot of illnesses, sitting on the couch is a victory. You've really done some amazing stuff.
Thank you so much for saying that. And I've been that person on the couch reading, and that was my victory for the day. I don't think necessarily just because you're upset by your medical condition that you need to advocate and do something about it. But this was my personal choice and what had helped me. What started this was the fact that I had to be my own advocate, right? Trying to convince doctors that my condition was real, my symptoms were valid, and because after they had done so much testing, they sent me home telling me, you might go blind or die one day. We don't really know what's wrong with you, but based on your symptoms, you could have some neurodegenerative disorder. Try to live your life. And that to me was impossible, right? So I said, I'm going to start doing research online as many people with underserved medical conditions have to. Once I did, I found a study by doctor in the neurology world who was specializing in visual snow syndrome. And I contacted him. He formally diagnosed me with visual snow syndrome. His name is Dr. Peter Goatsby. He is a pioneer in migraine research and visual snow syndrome research, and a friend. And I admire him, and I'll always be grateful to him for all of his clinical work, but also how he helped me through VSI. And we've collaborated together. So at that time, when I spoke with Dr. Goatsby, I had sort of been led to believe I was a medical anomaly and I was completely alone. And it wasn't until I went online and saw that there were others being affected, as well as when I talked to Dr. Goatsby, that said, no, the problem's widespread. And so my plan after that was, all right, well, I'm going to bring this handful of researchers to UCSF. And we organized the first visual snow conference there, where we put medical professionals, researchers, doctors, the handful at the time who were studying VSS and knew about the condition, in the same room as patients and their loved ones who were being affected by VSS, so that they could talk with one another about the latest body of research. From there, people who had attended the conference inquired if our efforts were going to continue. And I had no intention to create a nonprofit. I didn't feel qualified. Once I realized the scope of the problem and how many people were affected, I couldn't not do anything. So I figured, you know what, I'm going to try my best and we'll see what happens. And if we can help a few people, that would be great. And it's expanded into, a global initiative. If you don't show up, you already know what's going to happen. The outcome is certain. It doesn't mean by showing up it guarantees success. I really didn't know if anything would work, but I knew that the current circumstances of myself and others who were suffering were not good. So I just wanted to do anything and take action I could to try to put us in a positive direction and turn something, negative that had transpired into my life into a catalyst for something good. And it helped me sort of live with myself as well.
This idea of just making it known that you have a condition and you're I'm going to say battling through it, surviving with it. But other people see that and they gain strength from it. Maybe you could talk about some of the people that have come to you or you've come across or changed their lives because of your advocacy work.
To date, Visual Snow Initiative has heard from people in 93 countries. We're all under the umbrella of this condition, so we try to provide patient representation and just connect people with resources that are going to benefit them best. Some people just want education. Sometimes just having a name for the condition alone is cathartic. There are treatment options for VSS symptoms that have been identified via scientific research. So if people are interested in treatment options, that information is available to them. And if people just want a diagnosis, there is a diagnostic criteria on our website that they can use, and they can refer it to a medical professional and they can formally diagnose them. But finding a medical professional who would even know about VSS could be challenging. So we made a physician's directory. So global doctors who have knowledge of VSS are now available via this list, and people can type in the name of their country and find that if they so choose. Some people like relatable content, which we try to provide online, via some fun or relatable and sometimes serious and educational research-based updates via our social media channels. And then we have videos with patients sharing their stories, as well as researchers providing updates. We think that the more information we can provide, the better, whether it's more on the lighthearted or engaging side, and which can be cathartic, or on the research and clinical side of it. It's all about providing patients first and foremost, and then doctors, researchers with information about the condition.
I'm always amazed when I talk to people who have illnesses and they become the expert and then they land up helping other people. And you're the perfect example of somebody who is a walking encyclopedia for your illness. And
No,
with that comes, I think, a lot of strength and a lot of support for other people. And I just think you do a great job.
thank you so much. I really appreciate that.